Well, when I was pregnant with Grace, we did a couple of tests, and one of them said, you know what, there might be a possibility that she might have Down syndrome, but we're not really sure, so they did more tests.
While the initial shock of a Down syndrome diagnosis can be paralyzing, as their children grow older, these families have learned how enriching this life can actually be.
Looking back at the very beginning, personally, it was like a shock, you know, a sadness. But then now looking at it now, it's kind of affected me in the way that I've met new people through it, seeing the joy of it and seeing how she really is a true blessing. My hopes for her would be the same as her brothers, you know, that she would grow up and do something that she enjoys doing. The main fear is like she'd be alone, like when my husband and I, you know, passed away or, you know, go to heaven, who would look after her? And I would hope that our kids, one of her brothers would, or all of them. I think she's taught me to persevere. I mean, definitely she's consistently, you know, optimistic. She's always trying things, even though they're hard for her, she continues to do it. So I guess it's taught me also to be a little bit more assertive on her behalf.
Just like Grace, Michael Schuler joined an already large family. Over time, his family has seen how much he's taught them without them even knowing.
Gain a realization that life's not perfect and that, you know, the expectations you have to be altered because of the situation, but it doesn't mean it's anything worse, it's just different.
Clearly I've gained a perspective, noticing gifts in others. My son, who is a delight to me and whom loves me and I him, is something that the majority of people in society fear.
Well, I mean, he didn't really choose to be how he is. I mean, I just say he's a great guy, and so, I mean, you just have to give him a chance, and you just have to give him a chance to impress you, because he will impress you.
Even though they have had to overcome challenges, the Bresnahans cannot imagine life without Ryan.
When I first got that diagnosis, the first thing I thought of was things that weren't going to happen. He wasn't going to drive. There's a good chance he wasn't going to attend college. There were so many things that I thought that were, I put up all the roadblocks, you know, and I did it myself. It wasn't Ryan or anything. I did it myself, and now, you know, now that Ryan's doing what Ryan's doing, you know, it kind of knocks down the walls for me.
If you had told me when he was first born that he wouldn't walk until 3.5 or he wouldn't be potty trained at 5.5, he'd probably pass out, right? But now, since we're going through the journey with him, you know we'll get there. We got there with the walking, we'll get there with everything.
You just look at the world through a different lens than you used to when you're on the other side of the fence, kind of a thing.
I hope for him that, you know, I think it's what your hopes are for any child, whether they have a disability or not, that you want them to be content and happy with their life the way it is. And in Ryan's, we do have to think about the independent part of it and hope that he can live as independently as possible, because I think he'll want to.
Even though at first glance, what clearly was not seen as a gift is far beyond anything I could have ever hoped for in certain respects. That I wouldn't be the person I am today without him.
I mean, I know when we first found out, and I know talking to some of my friends too, it's kind of like a devastating diagnosis. You're like, oh, you know, because there really isn't that much positive stuff out there.
I remember somebody saying to me when we were, well, I guess we were breaking the news to people right after Ryan was born, and somebody said, "I'm sorry," and I said, "Don't be sorry. He's my son, and you know, don't be sorry. I have a second child now, and so I kind of want people not to think it's this horrible, terrible diagnosis. That it can be a pretty enriching life, actually, you know, if you give it the opportunity."